My first business was a success. It taught me how to find suppliers, how to supply and demand regulate prices, and it all happened inside the video game. Years later, those same lessons will motivate me to start my own business in real life. This story begins because I needed exorbitant amounts of money in a video game, as I wanted to obtain an incredible powerful, yet incredible expensive armor. Its name was the Legendary Armor of the Emperor, title that truly fitted, because gathering the resources to forge it would be a legendary feat for me. This armor costs 500 million, and defeating a monster give you 10, just 10. That meant that to get the necessary money, I would have to destroy 50 million creatures. Crazy, right? Then, one day, walking around the city, I stumbled upon a merchant stalls, small shops run by other players selling the items that monsters drop when defeated. The thing was, the value of the same item, in this case stones to upgrade weapons, varied from shop to shop. A stone could cost 10,000 in one store and 20,000 in another. This happened because some merchant had a big surplus of those stones, or simply needed quick money to forge their weapons. In that case, they preferred to sell the cheaper just to get the coins they needed right away for specific materials for their forging. So I bought one stone at 10,000 and resold it at 15,000. That gave me a profit of 5,000, the equivalent of killing 500 creatures. Do you know what that means in real life? Buy cheap and sell higher. That's how I learned one of the 10 great principles of commerce, but with just one, I was able to do a lot. With this power in my hands, I wouldn't just conquer the world, I would get the legendary armor of the Emperor. That was my purpose when I was 10 years old, and so began my path to greatness. Every day, I spend hours observing merchants, spying on them, analyzing the market, watching how prices rose and fell. In short, I looked for who sold cheap, so I could buy from them. With that knowledge, I bought valuable items that sold quickly, materials for forging, already forged parts other used for upgrades, hides, horns, metals, anything that could be exchanged. And yes, that's how I reached my first million. I was happy, very happy, because normally it would take me up to a month to make a million. But now I had done it in just over 5 days. However, the Emperor's armor cost 500 millions. At that pitch, it would take me 500 days to get all the money. I was pretty discouraged. I had money, but not enough. If someone had enough to buy that armor, then there had to be a way for me to do it too. That's when I learned the next lesson. During my market research, I discovered that some items were worth a lot of money. There were stones that cost 800,000 and could be sold for up to 1 million. Compared to the stones I bought at 10,000, and sold at 20,000, the profit margin was smaller. But with just one sale of those expensive stones, I made the same as selling 20 cheap ones. It required less effort and gave me more money, even if the percentage was lower. In real life, this is called high-ticket products, but we'll talk about that in another video. With my first million, I bought the plus 4 defense stones for 800,000 and sold it for 1 million. I was both amazed and scared. That was almost all the money I had earned. To my surprise, in minutes I got what used to take me hours. I was beginning to understand commerce even more. In fact, along with that lesson come the next. Now I had more free time, since I didn't need to look for so many items, only a few, because they were expensive and I couldn't afford many anyway. With that extra time, I decided to go fishing while leaving my shop open, because I had heard that fishing could bring rare items. In particular, I was looking for clams that sometimes carry pearls, which could sell for up to 10 million each. The first day, I had no luck, just a smelly fish, a die, and to make it worse, another fish stole my hook. With a broken heart, I went back to study the market. That's when I realized that shops were selling a little green orb for 250,000. I asked the owner how he got it, and he told me he had exchanged it with an outside merchant for nothing more than a smelly fish. What? Were they telling me that the smelly fish could be swapped for a 250,000 orb? I ran as fast as I could to shake it out. And yes, with that smelly fish, I got my first green orb. That's how my great journey as merchant truly began. Every day in my free time, I would go to the in-game market to buy the most valuable items at low price, and then sell them in my shop for a little more than I had paid, but still cheaper than the competition. Then I go fishing for hours and exchange my fish for green orbs, which allow me two things: to get more money faster and to buy extremely rare items, worth up to 30 million. Things I never imagined I could afford before, since I didn't have the capital. After a month, maybe a month and a half of business, I did it. I had gathered the 500 million and could finally buy the legendary armor of the Emperor. Honestly, a part of me couldn't believe it. I had spent months playing without even reaching 4 million, and now I had 500 million to buy such a valuable armor. And not just valuable for its effects, but because there were people paying real money, and not a small amount to get it. And not only that, with what I earned, I could buy the rarest and most expensive items in the entire game. Maybe this knowledge of commerce sounds basic, but if you understand it and know how to apply it in business, you'll have a solid foundation to start building on. I say this from experience. With these same basics, I created my jewelry store. And if you are into commerce, make sure to subscribe, because I'll plan to talk a lot more about this subject. It's literally my passion. Here's a simple example of how this applies in real life. Something close to what I did when I started my jewelry business. Imagine you go to market and find supplies of essences, pheromones, and glass bottles at a good price. If you mix them, you get a lotion whose value is greater than the sum of its 3 parts. Another option would be to buy finished lotions directly from manufacturers at a lower cost and sell them in retail. And what do you get with that? Nothing less than your own lotion shop. Of course, more valuables come afterward. Market research, brand strategies, sales channels, marketing, and controls, other things that pop out just when you think you are done. But with them also come the profits. That's how commerce works at its core. I know it may sound obvious, but the real power lies in understanding these principles and apply them in your own niche. Obviously, this is only one part of economic science, which I plan to break down step by step on this channel. The great merchants of the world understand this and pass the knowledge on to their descendants. That's why it's not uncommon to find families who have quietly kept wealth and power for centuries. One example is the Medici in Florence, bankers and merchants since the 14th century who ended up ruling their city and even gave popes and queens. The Habsburgs, who controlled vast territories and amassed colossal fortunes thanks to commerce, taxes, and the mines in the Americas. Or British aristocratic families like the Dukes of Westminster or Cavendish family, who still maintain multi-million-dollar estates today thanks to land and urban properties. The Grosvenor family, for instance, still controls much of London. Commerce is much more than just buying and selling. It's an entire world of knowledge. From how to make people choose your product, even if it's more expensive, to how to build a business that lasts for generations.